Hi, it's Bronwyn, Miss B, the Black Couch Therapist, here with another Black Mental Health is Black Health. Now, for the last 2 weeks, we've been trying to present this topic, and something technical happened every week. Well, they say three is the charm, so we're going to move forward with talking about just what is mental health, as this is Mental Health Awareness Month. But we always start off with some deep breathing and a few notes. So we're going to do that first. So let's think about that deep breathing that we always do. Are you ready? We're going to do 3 deep breaths. I will count in slowly to 4 and say breathe in. Then I'll say breathe out and count to 4. And you breathe in and out just as slowly as I count. It's just a way to decompress and woosah from your day. So let's do it. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4. In, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4. In, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4. It's just that moment to say, let me regroup. And I always like to remind you that's something you can do anytime, any day, anywhere. We breathe anyway. But it's a way of allowing yourself the opportunity to just breathe and woosah and have a moment. So let's get started. Today's topic is managing or working toward better mental health. As I said, for the last 2 weeks, something happened every time I tried to start the show. But we're going to persevere. This month is Mental Health Awareness Month. And as such, I wanted to just take a moment to talk about what it is and how do we manage it and how do we make it turn out better. So let's jump right into it. So I've got some definitions. I'm going to start off with the official definition of mental health by the American Psychological Association. And let's just see just what it is. Mental health is a state of mind characterized by an emotional well-being, good behavioral adjustment, relative freedom from anxiety and disabling symptoms, and a capacity to establish constructive relationships and cope with the ordinary demands of life. Now, that's a mouthful. Let's break it down. So, our mental health involves emotional well being, good behavioral adjustment, meaning we have to adjust and modify in life, but you have is a way of doing that so that it's not saying that I have good mental health, so I'm never going to be down. I'm never going to be sad. I'm never going to be anxious because it says relative freedom from anxiety so that you can be anxious, you can be depressed or be down, but it doesn't control you. It is not um, that overwhelming sense of who you are. You're not in that place all the time. So you're relatively free from anxiety and disabling symptoms. Relatively free, meaning they'll still happen, but it is not your ongoing state of being. And then you can establish constructive relationships. We were not always say we're not meant to live life alone. We're meant to be in community. So you want to have some constructive relationships, healthy relationships. And it says you can cope with the ordinary demands of life stresses. So you see, having good mental health does not mean that you'll never experience any stress. It means you can manage your stress. And I wanted to point that out because, you might think, well, I've been feeling a little stressed lately. Okay, you're human, but when the stress takes over, that's the problem. So it's how do you manage that stress? That's going to define your mental health, your mental well being. So let's look at, I wanted to take a moment to look at some mental health disorders. We hear a lot about anxiety. Anxiety disorders, those can include our the phobias, or then there's one generalized anxiety disorder where everything makes you angry. It makes you anxious. That's when you're not managing it well, and that's when the anxiety is a problem. I'm just going to quickly go through a list of some just so you can see some I might comment on, some maybe not. Another one would be your bipolar and related disorders. We hear about bipolar disorder a lot. Sometimes I think it's overused. And it used to be known as manic depressive disorder, but now for years the title has been switched to bipolar disorder. Then you have just your general depressive disorders that can range from mild depression to severe depression. Sometimes our depression can be related to a physical illness. Some illnesses, there is a high correlation between that physical illness and the mental illness of depression. For instance, there is a correlation between diabetes and depression. That's a whole nother show when we talk about that. But I just want to point it out that some um, health challenges cause depression. Another one is dissociative disorders. That's a mental health condition that involves experiencing a loss of connection between our thoughts, memories, feelings, our surroundings, that behavior and identity. We're not in connection with who we are and what we're feeling. Um, then you have feeding disorders. We tend to think of bulimia and anorexia, but there are other things in there. But there could be feeding disorders. Another one could be neurodevelopmental disorders. These are a group of conditions that cause a person's mental functioning to decline due to medical condition or other psychiatric illness. So there is definitely just that decline in your cognitive ability. Then there is, oh, I think I did too, obsessive compulsive disorders, personality disorders, disorders of personality or there's this long-term pattern of behavior and inner experiences that differ significantly from what is expected. Um, you have a different way, they affect these personality disorders rather, can affect at least two areas in your ways of thinking about yourself and others. Then there is schizophrenia spectrum and other psychotic disorders. We've heard of um, schizophrenia, and there are different kinds. It's not just one type of schizophrenia. They're a different kind. Like I said, tonight I'm just throwing out some names too in the beginning just to see what are mental health disorders. Then there are substance related and addictive disorders. And then trauma stressors. You've heard of PTSD, where people who have gone through it's post traumatic stress disorder. People have gone through a traumatizing event that has altered their life because it has altered their overall functioning. Um, so, those are just some of the mental health disorders, just quickly throwing out some names so you'll know, wow, that's what and that's not a comprehensive list. There are others, and each one of those men has a longer definition than I gave you. But I'm not about just here's the problem. I wanted to point that out to you, but let's think about tonight. What are some things we can do to generate positive mental health? That's what we're about. So the first step is practice moving. Now, I'm going to feel like I'm going fast today. I've had one of those fast and furious days where you're just moving, 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 moving. I'm like, whoo, so let me woosah. So the first thing is to practice moving. Exercise is really good for our mental health. When we exercise, we release endorphins. That's the feel good chemical, the happy chemical. Um, I've talked before about the relationship between mental health and physical health, and that's thus the name of the show. Black mental health is black health. When you improve one, you improve the other. It has been said that the sitting is the new smoking. Well, when we're moving, we're improving our body, our physical well-being, and our mental well-being. So get moving, release those endorphins in your brain. Okay, maybe you're not ready to full on exercise. Just go for a walk around your house or walk around your office. The more you move, the better your body is going to perform and it can improve your mental well being. Practice healthy eating. Now, there are a lot of studies that I've read about the relationship between food and mental health. So even there, some say that the Mediterranean diet is not only physically healthy, some studies show, but it's healthier for your brain functioning, your brain well being. And if you think about it again, back to that relationship between physical and mental health, if your body is physically healthy, your brain is part of your body. You're increasing health in one, you increase health in the other. And for all my carnivores out there, some things that could be associated with depression, red meat. Hmm. Yeah. For my carnivores, I know you don't like that, but there are studies that say that there's whole courses you can take on food and mood. High consumption of fruits and vegetables, things like that, are good for your mental health as well as your physical health. Wow, who knew? Practice realistic goal setting. You know, a lot of times we decide, I'm going to do this, this, or this. And you set these goals for yourself, and they're unrealistic. You may have a to do list of 20 different things to get done in one day. And each of those 20 different things might have 5 steps underneath. Any of those 20 things could be something you need a whole day to do. And then you can't get it all done. So you had this long to do list. And at the end of the day, it is impossible. It's 2 in the morning. You're still up and have to be up at 6 the next morning, and your to do list didn't get done. Well, that's because it wasn't realistic. Now, goal setting is very important for our mental health. It helps us planning, and the regularity can be very good. But if it's not realistic, you are not helping yourself. So, when I say realistic goal setting, I mean that you take time to think about, now what's important? What is mandatory? It has to be done today. Or what can I put on the back burner? And once you make that decision, there are some things that have to be done. You know, it just today it has to happen. Everything can't be urgent. So you have to decide this is urgent. It has to happen today. Figure out what's urgent. Manage the urgent. What is important? What is a need? What is a want? And come up with a realistic plan for your goals in life. So if you're doing a daily sheet or a weekly um, goal setting, make it realistic. Also, under goal setting, I will mention it's important to have long term goals. Where do you want to be 5 years from now? Where do you want to be 8 years from now? 15 years from now? Wherever you're going to be 5 years from now, whatever you're doing today impacts if you're going to make it there 5 years from now. So know where you want to go. In 5 years, I want to do XYZ. Well, you don't wake up in 5 years and you're there without making a plan. So make that plan to get where you want to be 5 years from now. Practice grounding. Now, I'm looking at grounding in two different ways. We've talked on the show about the idea of being in connection with the earth when you are grounding. We've talked about putting your feet in the dirt there and the electromagnetic charge you get from your feet being connected with nature is good for our bodies. We wear thick sole shoes. You wear tennis shoes that have thick soles and rubber, and you're not even close to the ground. Um, so we lose contact with just walking on the ground. You know, as children, you sometimes like to play outside barefooted, and this was back in the day, and you were healthy because you were playing in the dirt. As kids, we ate dirt. We made mud pies, and I remember being the youngest when they taught me I tasted dirt. Well, I didn't die. um, I'm still here. But being able to just connect with the dirt has a lot of positive connections for our body. I know personally, I like to go to the beach and I like my feet in the sand. I have a decent backyard, so I will go and sit outside and put my feet in the grass, take off my shoes, socks, and put my feet in the grass and just sit there for a moment. Being able to be connected. It is grounding in that it's good physiologically for our body. Our body is able to recharge and do different things while our feet are actually in that dirt. And the other part of that is it allows you mentally to just calm down, because when you're focusing on grounding and not doing anything else, maybe you say for 10 minutes, I'm going to sit outside and I'm not going to do anything. Maybe not. You put on some calming instrumental music or just, sounding music, and allow yourself to just, I'm going to be here. Well, your mind is allowed to recharge because I'm not thinking of the 150 things I need to do on that unrealistic goal list that I set. And you're just saying, I'm just going to chill. I'm here. I'm good. So that's the other part of it. But being in touch with nature. Also, we think about grounding. That term is used when we allow ourselves to just focus. Sometimes, if you're in a moment of where your anxiety is just like, whoo, it's too much. I can't do it. I can't take it. Well, here is where grounding comes in with that. When you're able to take stock in who you are, it's sort of part of mindfulness. I'm aware of who I am, where I am. I'm becoming centered. So, one of the grounding exercises is the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 technique. And we're going to do it right here. We'll practice it. And you're going to think of 5 things you see, 4 things you feel, 3 things you hear, 2 things you smell, and 1 thing you taste. So that's the prep for it. I'm going to walk you through it. Wherever you are, I want you to think of 5 things you can see. Look for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things you can see. Wherever you're sitting, think of touch 4 things that are within your reach. Even if it's touching your knee, your clothes, your hair. 4 things, 3, 2, 1. What are 3 things that you can hear? 3, 2, 1. What are 2 things you can smell? 2, 1. What is 1 thing you can taste? What is a one taste in your mouth right now? Or think of something you really like to eat. 1. Going through that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 activity allows you to become centered. That's something you can do when that anxiety is too high. The seeing it, feeling it, hearing it, smelling it, tasting it allows you to be grounded and centered where you are in that moment, so that whatever is going on in your world that's causing the anxiety, that's overwhelming you, you're stopping. It allows you to be, here I am. Okay, I'm focused. I'm real. I'm here. And not be in that moment of, I'm anxious. I can't function. I don't know where I am. So it allows you to woosah and be there. So grounding has those are 2 different types of, that term grounding is used for 2 different things, but both are positive for good mental health. The next one is practice forgiving. Just a side note, and I'll be talking about it more in the month of June. We'll be teaching a class, The Power of Forgiveness, Breaking the Chains That Bind. There are studies, once again, I like reading studies. There are studies that talk about the impact of forgiving on our physical, mental, and spiritual health. Forgiving is very hard. If we've been really hurt, and some people have the misnomer that forgiving means forgetting. Forgive and forget, that's not what we're teaching. We're teaching forgiving. Because there are some places in your life, some situations you don't need to forget. If someone has caused you harm, physical harm, abuse, You don't need to remember the pain, but you might need to remember who they are so that you don't put yourself back in that situation. But forgiving in and of itself frees you of the burden of the hurt. Holding on to the burden of hurt, that's hard. It takes its toll on you to always have to be in that space. So when you're able to forgive, you lose the pain, you lose the burden. Think of it this way. Have you ever had a situation in which you were totally upset by what someone did? They hurt you. They treated you wrong. So that every time you thought about them, you got mad all over again. You could see a car that was the same car they drove and think about them and your mood changed. Well, anytime that happens, that person is controlling you. You don't want to think of them controlling you, but think of it this way. If your mood changed just by thinking about the situation of thinking of them, that's control because your mood was changed by that person's thought. Does someone who wronged you deserve to be in control of your mood? I think not. So practicing forgiving can have an impact on our mental well-being. This one is kind of funny. Practice exploration. We talk about travel being a good thing. Now, sometimes our funds don't mean we can go travel. I might not be able to just go jump on a plane and go to Paris, go to Niagara Falls, go to the next town. But I look at it this way because as I was looking at all the things, professionals and others said about positive mental well-being, positive mental health, travel was one of them. And it talked about travel from the sense of exploration. I see it this way. Might be able to explore where you are. Think about your city. Maybe when if you can't afford to go anywhere else and you want to explore, visit your city as a tourist. If you're in a major city, it'll have a tourist bureau. Get something from the tourist bureau and explore things you've never seen. Um, if you were in New York, there are people who live in New York who have never been to the Empire State Building. So you might want to go up and ride there. That's just an example of trying to think of a city that we would all know. But what is it in your city or in your area you've never seen? Go explore. Travel and seeing new things is good for your mental health. It allows you to um, expand your mind. And that's why I say, you do that. Some cities have those just a tour of the city where they do the different little bus tours or whatever. Not generally too expensive. Go tour your city. In the DFW area, I know I saw on a Fort Worth list, there is a scavenger hunt. And it was not expensive. You can do a scavenger hunt of that city. Think about it. If this is your city and you don't know where everything is, so explore, do things to get out. Another benefit of exploring, it allows you to get out of the house. When you want to practice mental health, you need to be out of your house. So explore your city. See what is it? What's there? That is something you can do to perpetuate positive mental health. Let's look at another. It's a 10-point list. We're almost done. Practice laughter. Laughter is important. And there's sometimes in our life when laughter is the last thing we want to do because it's nothing funny about what's going on. And I am not trying to diminish what could be going on in your life, but be able to practice laughter even in those times. So when you laugh, there are physiological things that go on in your body and your brain that again are going to release some of those chemicals that make you feel better. When in the moment you can laugh and you just get that good laugh physiologically, the things that go on to put you in a better space can make you feel good in that moment. And even just saying, "Oh, I just had a good laugh." And you can go back to whatever is distressing you. If you do, you've taken a moment and put that space between you and the distress that you're feeling. And maybe you can go back and see it a little clearer because you got out of that moment. With the advent of YouTube, You can go find your favorite comedian, or maybe watch a show that you liked in the past that made you laugh, or watch reels that make you laugh. There's so many things you can do to put yourself in a moment of laughter just for a little bit, to stop and laugh. And maybe combine some things. If you're really stressed and you just stuck in that house, maybe it's about, I'm going to go take a walk. I'll just at least walk around the block. If I'm in an apartment, I'll walk around, the unit, and I'll put on an earphone. I always say put on one. You need to be able to be aware of your surroundings. I'll put something in one ear that makes me laugh while I'm walking. Man, you're doubling the ability to gather endorphins in your brain. So practice some laughter. Practice affirming yourself. Yes, affirming yourself. Tell yourself something good if you don't watch it anybody else. I advise looking in the mirror in the morning and saying, "Hello, beautiful. This is going to be a good day because I'm going to make it a good day." But tell yourself something affirming. I am wonderful. God made me and he sure didn't make any junk, so I'm good. But telling yourself something good every day, there is a positivity in that. That might be the only positive comment you hear that day, but at least you heard one to start your day and you know it's true. So practice affirming yourself. It's important. Um, Affirmations can change how we see the world. So practice daily. Uh, Practice good sleep and rest habits. Yeah. Again, sleep and rest, first off, they're not the same thing. Sleep energizes our body. Our body needs to rejuvenate. And when we're sleeping, our body is rejuvenating and cells are growing and things are physiologically happening when we sleep. Our body is busy when we're sleeping, and that needs to happen. Rest, you can be resting and not necessarily be sleep. When you're resting, you're taking that downtime from life. It's taking away, I'm going to put the stress on the shelf for a minute, and I'm going to just rest. I'm going to be here. When you're grounding, that might be part of your resting routine. When you're just sitting in silence, maybe it's reading a book because you're resting your mind from all the anxiety that you feel. So, rest is a good thing. And the last tip for generating positive mental health is practice gratitude. Now, I am not oversimplifying and think we're always going to be thankful for everything. Even the Bible says, in everything, give thanks. It doesn't say because of everything. No, in everything. So, even in your darkest hour, is there something you can find to be grateful for? I believe keeping an affirmation or well, a gratitude journal is important. Every day, write one thing you're grateful for at the end of the day. Sometime it might be, I'm grateful that this day is over and I made it through. That's fine. But write something you're grateful for. And on those days when it's difficult, you look back and you read, you flip the pages and say, oh, yeah. Some people write them on little sheets of paper and just kind of keep them in a jar, but it's something you pull out. Oh, yeah, that was that. Oh, yeah. And as you remind yourself of the things that you're grateful for in the past, that can help you function better right now in the future. But being grateful, how does that impact your mental health? It can shift the negativity. Sometimes it's easy to get caught in everything that's going wrong, and that's going to bring the sadness, that's going to bring the depression, that's going to bring the anxiety. If you're in a moment of grief and you can't get out of that moment of grief, finding something, if it's grief, why am I thankful that I even had this person in my life? If it's loss of something, because grief and loss is not just about a person, if it's something else, what can I be thankful for that it was there? How can I move past this loss and grow from this loss? Not an easy question. But even in that, what am I grateful for? And we're going to jump to our call to action, and that is take your mental health seriously. If it needs help, get help. If you know someone who needs help, with their mental health. Help them find it. If, get a therapist. I always say, I'm Miss B, the Black Couch Therapist, here to help you become a better you. You can find me at ablecc.org. I may not be the therapist for you. I will help you find someone who can help you. And lastly, as it always will be, vote, vote, vote. Be an educated voter. Well, we finished a few seconds over time, but I am Miss B, the Black Couch Therapist, here to help you become a better you. As we wind down today, take care of your mental health. Think about these pointers, and these are simple things you can do. Mental health is serious. And for some, it's just a matter of maybe we need to change how we do things. And hopefully, these 10 things to practice, meaning we need to do them over and over, is not a one time shot. That's why I said practice those things can help your life become just a little better. I'll see you next week. Bye now.